Welcome to another session, calcium channel blockers. In this session, we discussed about the types of calcium channels, pharmacology of calcium channel blockers, and the therapeutic application of calcium channel blockers. The discovery of calcium channel in the cardiac myocyte and the vascular smooth muscle helped in understanding the mechanism involved in a contraction of both cardiac as well as a vascular smooth muscle. There are three different types of calcium channel. One is voltage sensitive calcium channel. This channel activated when a membrane potential reduced to minus 40 millivolt. That can further subcategorized into three subtypes. One is L type of calcium channel, which is long lasting, or a slow channel present in a cardiac and a vascular smooth muscle. T type, second is T type of calcium channel, which is transient or fast channel present in neurons and endocrine cells. Third one is N type neuronal channel found in neurons, and it is involved in the neurotransmitter release. Out of all this channel, L type of channel is most common type. It consists of alpha subunit. This is a alpha subunit which enclose a calcium channel. Opening of this channel can increase calcium entry. Along with that alpha 1 subunit, there are other subunits like alpha 2, beta, gamma and delta. There are different type of calcium channel blockers where they bind with the alpha subunit, but in the alpha subunit the binding site of different calcium channel blocker is different, and due to that there is a slight variation in response of different calcium channel blocker. So almost all the calcium channel blockers basically bind with the voltage, block the voltage sensitive L type of calcium channel. Second one is receptor operated channel, which is activated by the agonist, which also promote the release of calcium from the sarcoplasmic reticulum, and that enhance calcium concentration, increase contractility. And third one is leak channel, which is present in the blood vessels, and they releases a small amount of calcium ion into a resting cell. So there are three different types of calcium channels. Verapamil, which was synthesized in 1962, was the first agent found to have a calcium channel blocking property. And then after, a different or many more calcium channel blockers were synthesized. They were classified as a phenylalkylamine, which is verapamil, benzothiazepine, diltiazem, dihydropyrimidine, nifedipine, nimodipine, nitrindipine, amlodipine, and there are so many different dihydropyrimidine derivatives were there. So broadly they were categorized as a dihydropyrimidine derivative, and these two were categorized as a non-dihydropyrimidine derivatives. Their mechanism of action: they block the L type of calcium channel. Blockage of this channel can decrease frequency of calcium channel opening, decrease calcium entry into cardiac as well as a vascular smooth muscle, and ultimately it leads to decreased cardiac contraction and relaxation of smooth muscle. Their action on a vascular smooth muscle where the L type of calcium channel were present, stimulation of this channel can increase calcium concentration inside a cell. That calcium can further increase calcium release from the sarcoplasmic reticulum. That calcium bind with the calmodulin, and that whole complex phosphorylate the myosin light chain kinase. Phosphorylation can produce a contraction of vascular smooth muscle. If calcium channel blockers were given, they block the entry of calcium ion. Blockage of calcium entry can prevent all the subsequent steps, and instead of constriction there is a vasodilatation or relaxation of vascular smooth muscle. Same way in the cardiac tissue, atria and ventricles where the calcium moves inside during the plateau phase of action potential. That calcium bind with the troponin, and we aware that the troponin having inhibitory effect, it prevent interaction between actin and myosin. So when calcium bind with the troponin, inhibitory effect of troponin is relieved, and which leads to interaction of actin and myosin and produce cardiac contraction. If calcium channel blockers were administered, they block the calcium entry. Blockage of calcium entry can leads to blockage of all the subsequent steps, and instead of contraction there is a decrease in the cardiac contraction with the calcium channel blocker. So calcium channel blockers were broadly categorized in dihydropyrimidine derivatives and non-dihydropyrimidine derivatives. So what is the difference in their action? If we can consider that SN node and a AV node, their phase 0 is mediated through calcium entry. Both the SN node in the AV node, entry of calcium ion may leads to automaticity and conduction from a AV node. So that action is transmitted, impulse which were generated from SN node which pass on to a different tissue. If SN node activity is higher, we can say that there is an increased automaticity. If AV node conduction rate is higher, we can say that impulse were more pass on to the ventricles and increase ventricular contractility. But when the calcium channel blockers were administered, specifically the non-dihydropyrimidine derivatives, they bind with calcium channel, block the calcium entry in SN node as well as in AV node. They reduce automaticity, they reduce heart rate, they reduce AV conduction. So both the activity ultimately decrease the cardiac contractility. So we can say that non-dihydropyrimidine derivative produce bradycardia, while dihydropyrimidine derivative, their primary action is on a vascular smooth muscle L type of calcium channel, and their primary action is on a vascular smooth muscle. They produce powerful vasodilatation, and due to that there is a reflex activation of sympathetic nervous system, and that reflex activation produce reflex tachycardia with the nifedipine. So dihydropyrimidine derivatives, they produce reflex tachycardia. So that is the main difference between verapamil, diltiazem and nifedipine. Is again just a brief revision of their action on a vascular smooth muscle and a cardiac tissue along with the adverse drug reaction. So verapamil, their primary action, they produce more negative inotropic effect as well as a suppression of SN node activity, and due to that there is a reduction in automaticity. It also having some action on a vascular smooth muscle, so produce vasodilatation. Diltiazem having moderate action on a vascular smooth muscle as well as a moderate action on the negative inotropic effect and suppression of SN node activity. While dihydropyrimidine derivatives, their primary action is on a vascular smooth muscle. They produce powerful vasodilatation, and due to that reflex tachycardia is produced. So we can see that the negative inotropic effect or suppression of SO activity is less or zero with the dihydropyrimidine derivatives. Regarding their adverse drug reaction, verapamil having some action on the vascular smooth muscle produce vasodilatation, so having hypotensive effect, having bradycardia as well as a congestive heart failure. Diltiazem also relax the GI smooth muscle and produce constipation like effect. It also produce edematous state. Dihydropyrimidine derivatives, hypotensive effect, palpitation, edema, as well as a difficulty in a urine voiding. So here you can see that common adverse drug reaction which produces, one is hypotension, another one is edema. So calcium channel blockers are primary arteriodilators, and calcium channel blockers induce edema is caused by the increased capillary hydrostatic pressure. That hydrostatic pressure is increased because of greater dilatation of precapillary vessels than the postcapillary vessels. So when a precapillary vessels are dilated and the postcapillary vessels are in a constricted state, that increase a hydrostatic pressure and it produce a edematous state. So this is the way how edema is produced with a dihydropyrimidine derivative as well as with the diltiazem. There are different types of dihydropyrimidine derivatives were there, like amlodipine, felodipine, nitrindipine, and nimodipine. They differ in their pharmacokinetic characteristic as well as some additional features along with the blockage of calcium channel. Amlodipine having highest bioavailability, that is 70 to 90%. Half-life is 35 to 50 hours. Its bioavailability is highest, and we can say that it uh, other features include complete but slow absorption. So complete absorption can increase its bioavailability. Its slow absorption reduce development of adverse drug reaction. Nifedipine produce reflex tachycardia, while amlodipine having less development of reflex tachycardia because its absorption is slow, and due to that there is a less adverse drug reaction. It is administered as a 5 to 10 milligram once a day. Another one is felodipine. Bioavailability is 15 to 20%. Half-life is 10 to 15 hours. More vasoselective, so helpful for a treatment of hypertension. Given as a similar dose 5 to 10 milligram once a day. Then nitrindipine. Bioavailability is 15 to 30%. Half-life is 8 to 12 hours. Other than calcium channel blocking property, it also release a nitric oxide, so it can helpful to produce vasodilatation as well as it also inhibit a phosphodiesterase enzyme. Inhibition of that enzyme can increase the cyclic AMP level, which also helpful to produce vasodilatation. It is administered in the dose of 5 to 20 milligram once a day. Then there is a nimodipine. Bioavailability is only 15%. Half-life is very short, that is 1 to 2 hour, and due to that it is administered at 30 to 60 milligram every 4 hour. The additional feature of nimodipine is that it can cross the blood-brain barrier, so specifically helpful in certain CNS disorder like neurological deficit, where it is necessary to dilate the neuronal vessels, and for that nimodipine is the preferred one. There is an additional dihydropyrimidine derivative, that is cilnidipine. It is different than the other dihydropyrimidine derivative, that cilnidipine having dual blockage. It blocks the L type of calcium channel as well as it also blocks the N type of calcium channel. The N type of calcium channel which are present at neuronal cell. Blockage of this channel can decrease release of neurotransmitter. If neurotransmitter release is blocked, the reflex tachycardia which is produced with the dihydropyrimidine derivative, that reflex tachycardia is not observed with the cilnidipine. So there is a no reflex tachycardia. Additionally, it also helpful to produce vasodilatation which is also produced with the blockage of L type of calcium channel. So it is specifically administered for a treatment of hypertension as well as for a treatment of angina, and it is given in dose of 5 to 20 milligram. Regarding the therapeutic uses of calcium channel blockers, first they are indicated for a treatment of stable angina. In a stable angina, calcium channel blockers dilate the coronary arteries. Dilatation of the coronary arteries reduce arterial blood pressure. There is a reduction in the afterload. Ultimate effect which generated is reduced oxygen demand. So when oxygen demand is reduced, there is a less chance to develop angina. So they were helpful as a prophylactic therapy to prevent development of angina. Different congener non-dihydropyrimidine derivatives like verapamil and diltiazem. Their primary action is on the S node and AV node, so they can decrease myocardial contractility. And decrease myocardial contractility, reduce oxygen demand, and they are helpful to reduce infarction and mortality rate in a myocardial infarction. So they were preferred for treatment of stable angina. While dihydropyrimidine derivative, they are powerful vasodilator. They decrease arterial blood pressure, and due to that, reflex tachycardia is produced. And that reflex tachycardia may worsen the condition. So there is a we can say that dihydropyrimidine derivatives are not preferred for a treatment of angina, stable angina. For a vasospastic angina, verapamil and amlodipine, they both produce coronary dilatation and they are helpful to relieve a pain. Amlodipine, as it also dilates the vessel, so it is helpful in specifically vasospastic angina. In case of unstable angina, verapamil is used to reduce a cardiac workload with other treatment. As only verapamil is not sufficient, additional drug is required for a treatment of unstable angina. So if calcium channel blocker we have to select, we can select a verapamil, but do not select a dihydropyrimidine derivatives because of its reflex tachycardia effect. Effect used in the treatment of hypertension. All calcium channel blockers are equally efficacious in a treatment of hypertension. Their onset of action is very quick. Longer acting preparation were administered once a day dose administration. So the patient compliance is also higher with the use of calcium channel blocker. Above and all, there are certain other advantage which associated with the calcium channel blocker therapy. Advantage like calcium channel blockers cannot alter the hemodynamics, lipid profile as well as a uric acid level. They cannot impair the work capacity. They are not contraindicated in asthma, angina or peripheral vascular diseases. They cannot produce any CNS side effect, and they cannot produce any adverse effect to a fetus when it is used during pregnancy induced hypertension. So some antihypertensive drugs may alter the lipid profile, may alter the uric acid level. They are contraindicated to be used in asthma, may produce harmful effect to the fetus, but calcium channel blocker are safely administered in all this condition. So many advantage are associated with the calcium channel blocker therapy. Then they are used for a treatment of cardiac arrhythmias. Verapamil and diltiazem are used in paroxysmal supraventricular tachycardia as well as they are used to control a ventricular rate in atrial flutter. As verapamil depresses the SN node and AV node by prolonging the recovery of calcium channel. Other indication, hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. Verapamil improve the diastolic function and exercise performance and it can relieve of symptoms. So basically due to its negative inotropic effect, it is preferred for a treatment of hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. Other uses for a premature labor, nifedipine inhibits the uterine contraction and is useful in delaying a labor in a premature uterine contraction. And for a treatment of migraine, or we can say for prophylactic use of migraine, verapamil is used for prophylactic purpose. So this is all about the calcium channel blocker. Many cardiovascular indications are associated with the calcium channel blocker therapy. So in a summary, we can say that all calcium channel blockers are well tolerated. Pedal edema is the commonest side effect of all calcium channel blockers. Amlodipine is the commonly used for a treatment of hypertension, while verapamil and diltiazem used for a treatment of arrhythmia, specifically paroxysmal supraventricular tachycardia. This is all about the calcium channel blocker. Thank you.